Yo, sup guys, Mike from Junk 90s back at it again. Got a new PSA submission review for you. This is a big 1970s baseball submission with lots of big cards of Hall of Famers in it. Did a preview on this a few months ago. This one took a little while to get back, so not super happy with PSA because of that. But we got those predictions right here, and we'll see how we did. Some of the big cards, hoping this 1976. Let's see, they're down here in the corner, the bigger ones. Hoping this 1976 Nolan Ryan gets a 9. That's like $1,000 card in a 9. The Rod Carew would be really nice in a 9. Hank Aaron, if we hit an 8, that's a few $100. Stuff like that would be really big. There's some nice stuff in here. Love 70s. It's a great vintage era. I'll probably do a quick scan over the smaller stuff, but those big cards and the more fun ones, the big names, will get a little bit more attention. So, time to get started, guys. Let's get at it. First one is 1976 Topps Hank Aaron. This one, unfortunately, got a 7. Would have loved to have gotten this one in an 8. This one, the main question on it, I don't know if you guys can see it here, but the main question is centering on this. This did fall within 8 specs, but it's something we're going to kind of see in this release is that these, this one, it's actually a little bit hard to see this on the camera here, but this is actually a fairly, I don't even want to say big, but like a fairly noticeable rotation in the sites. Actually, it's probably easier to see on the left border. This top left border is much bigger than the bottom left where it ends. So this did fall, even up here at the worst, did fall within 8 specs, but they seem to, and we'll see this in a couple other parts of the submission, that when there's some noticeable, I don't even know if I want to call it heavy, but fairly heavy on something like this, but when there's like a little bit noticeable rotation, the expected grade got bumped down one. But at the same time, a lot of this got, I don't want to say undergraded, but in my opinion, a lot of these did not get the grades I was either hoping for or would have expected. But that just happens sometimes when you're doing this. And again, vintage, even though this is later vintage area, vintage stuff is a little bit harder to come by, a little, like, definitely less experience for me doing vintage stuff than 90s. Like 90s I can hit pretty well, but the 70s stuff is a little bit trickier. They just have more service issues, they just have more things going on. Corners and edges you can grade most of the same way, but surface is definitely always a challenge, and centering on these cards is a thing, man. So this one was rotated a decent amount within the frame, so I think that's probably why this got a 7 instead of the 8 I was hoping for. So there we go, 7. Even in a 7, this is worth, I think it goes for like $75 to $100. I'm looking at my list. Yeah, so recent sales have been like 75 up to 135. So I'm probably gonna list this. This is like 50-50. I'm still making my mind, because the 8, there's a nice escalator on it. It can go, if you hit the 8, it's like a $250 to $300 card. So I'm sort of on the fence on whether or not I want to crack and resub this one. I think it would probably still get a 7 because of that centering, but this would also be good to know whether or not that centering is the reason why, or if this was just like a consistent grade versus a borderline grade for different graders, because you do see this a lot. Like all of this is subjective, and graders will have different opinions on these different edge cases, and this could be an edge case because of the when I say edge, like the edge, I mean like an edge case, a borderline case, just something that's kind of like could go one way, could go another, because of that centering rotation. Could be one of those. So anyway, this one I'm considering maybe sending back in, but if I don't, should be able to get a nice payout on this one. So I'm not too unhappy with it. I would have liked the 8 for sure, but still about $100 card in a 7, so we're not gonna cry too much that we got a $100 card. Poor us, right? Rod Carew, I should say what the guesses were. This was guessed between an 8 or a 9. It got an 8. Similar thing going on. So this actually, even though it's kind of tough to see, this one did fall within 9 specs for centering, but this is another one that just has some rotation on it. So like you can see again, the left border a little bit narrow down here than at the top. So this is another one that probably, if it didn't have the, I would like to think if it didn't have the rotation, this could have hit a 9, but got an 8 instead. So again, not the worst thing in the world. This one, in an 8, I'm seeing it go for like 35 to 60, but the 9 auctions for like 300 to 400. So of these two, I think I'd be more likely to send this one back. But this one, still kind of deciding on this one, but still hit an 8. Still make some money, but I'm thinking with the big escalator on this one, this might get sent back in. But and that would be a good one to learn from because there is a big escalator on that one. Like the Hank Aaron isn't that big of an escalator. Like 3x is nice, but Carew talking about like a 5x escalator is a pretty big deal. So that one might be worth it on a $20 submission price to just send that in and see how you did. 76 Topps Babe Ruth. So this one was, I think I was thinking, what do you got? It's down. I gotta make it a little easier to see this. I did not mark up my Pokemon. Maybe you guys can see the whole list this way. Let me try this. There we go. Enough of the list. You can see enough of the list, and the big cards are more like down here. So where'd I put the Ruth? Here we go. So I was thinking 8 on this one, and it got an 8. So, happy with that grade. The Ruth in the 8s, I'm seeing it go for about 40 to 85, but I'm thinking if I wait a minute on this one, I can probably get 100 on it, or at least I can try to get 100. So the goal would be to get, 75 to 90, we'll say, on this. Start with the listing at 100. So pretty happy with that one, man. If you can get, if you're getting cards that are 8s that are worth in the neighborhood of 3 figures that are like in the neighborhood of $100, you should be very happy with it. So this was a nice pickup, getting that Babe Ruth for getting the 8 on it. This one had 2 main issues on it. It was the centering left to right, and then it also had some like print dots on it too. So that was this one just like seemed to be an 8. Kind of fit all the specs. Had a little bit too much going on with the print stuff to it wasn't a 9 centering anyway. And then with the print dots, you're like, yeah, it'll be an 8. So there we go. Happy about that one. Next, Dennis Eckersley. I'll do a little more of a blind reveal. This one, or I'll try to build up a little bit more suspense. This one I was thinking an 8. Shouldn't circle it already. This one, thinking it was an 8 because of centering, and this one hit an 8. So this one was a gorgeous, again, like a lot of these other ones, just like a stunner with edges and corners, but either the centering and the surface had an issue. That was kind of the case with this entire set. And a lot of stuff you see with the 70s. It'll be a little bit tough to see, but I think you should be able to pick it up now. This right border is just much bigger than this left border, and that one fell within, fairly comfortably within the 8 specs. It just wasn't going to hit a 9 because of that. But that's a totally fine card. An 8 here goes for like 150 to 200. I'm probably going to list this at like 180 and hope to get like, in that range. If I get like 170, 175 on this, I'll be very happy with it. So this one, rookie card of a, Hall of Famer. And it's a solo rookie card, unlike a lot of these other ones where you got to split it up 4 ways. This is a nice pickup. So the grade that we thought we were gonna got an 8 on this one. Felt that was pretty appropriate, and got a nice 3-figure card on this one, right for us. Next, Carl Yastrzemski. This is the Yaz down here, 76 Yaz. Thinking either an 8 or a 9 on this one. This one got an 8. Off the top of my head, I don't recall exactly why. I thought this was going to be an 8 or a 9. I should have probably reviewed that before I jumped on and hit record. Because the centering is really nice in this. I must have seen... it must have either been like a corner issue that I'm not seeing with my naked eye right now. Because guys, the 9 specs and corners are pretty tough. Like sometimes they can be hard to pick up with a naked eye when they're about a foot from your face. You have to hold them really close. It's got a little bit of print dots on it. Back centering is fine. Back corners look fine. That one might be like the slightest bit tipped, but that wouldn't stop from being a 9. Maybe I put my fingers over it. I have another video where I kind of like went over the surface issues on some of these, and like maybe I found some like surface blistering on it that you just feel all the time on these 70s cards. So thinking 8 or 9, would have loved to get a 9 on that one, but let me check that list. I want to see the 8. It's still a fine card. Sales are anywhere from like 40 to like 90 on this. So if I list it for 60, take 50 on it, you feel pretty good. So would have loved to hit a 9, but 8, fine card to make some money. You won't regret it. Thurman Munson. Where's Munson on this list here? No, it's a 75 Munson, 76 Munson. Where are you at? Is he down here? Where did I put him? Oh, here. Excuse me, 79. What am I talking about? This is 79. So here it is back here. Thinking 8 or 9 on the 79 Munson. This one got an 8. This one, you're not going to be able to see it, but this one had a bit of a corner issue. I can't, it's too, I have to like put my face all the way in the camera. You're not going to be able to see it, but the corner is just like a little bit too tipped up. This bottom right one, if you can see that, maybe with my finger behind it, you can get a little bit of a look at it. Just like a little bit too big. A little bit too big. You just don't see stuff like that on 9s very often. So I would have loved to hit a 9, get a generous grade on it, but 8 was the most likely one. So I think to me that's a pretty fair grade. The Munson in an 8. Where did I put this one on my list? I'm taking way too long. I swear I prepped for this. I swear I did. It sells for like 20 to 50. I'll probably list it at like 40, take $40. This is one where, because it was borderline 8-9, it made sense to send it in a PSA. But like, as you saw in my SGC submission, if you know that your card is capped, especially when it's like a centering issue or something like that, at like $50, just send it to SGC. Or this is what I'm trying out now. So I can't say that I've confirmed that strategy yet, but my thought is like those lower end cards, you're gonna, first off, it's gonna cost less to go to SGC. Secondly, you're gonna get it back much faster. And in a $40 card, you can kind of quote double your money. You can make like $15 on like a $15 submission thereabouts. So you'd much rather do that and only take 2 weeks to do it as opposed to waiting 3 months to get this thing back. This was near an escalator to 9, so it made sense to like try to get lucky on it. So I'm fine with that decision, but that's the kind of thing that you look for if you want to be like, oh, do I send that I've been looking for when you want to send it to like SGC or PSA. So that corner really isn't a big deal. Where again, like I'd still probably send this into PSA if I could do it all over again, but the kind of thing where it's in like that $40 to $50 range, that's a thing I'm investigating as like an SGC sweet spot where it's like, oh, I'm just going to start sending these to SGC, get them back faster and try to unload them quick. But fine card, still will make money. And yeah, Thurman Munson, great player, man, has a lot of collectors. This is the 77 Nolan Ryan. That one is down here. I'm thinking a 7 or an 8 on this one. Well, let's just flip. Let's see what we got. This one is a 7. So this one was a bit of a test as well. I kind of wanted to see. It can be tough sometimes to know what the limits between 7s and 8s are, especially. Like, if I got a pretty good, like a pretty solid read on what a 9 or a 10 versus an 8 corners are. 7s, though, are a little bit trickier. So this one got a 7 because of this corner up here. You can probably start to see what I'm talking about now when I pull it up. So even though it's really small, that you just don't see, you just do some, I don't know. This would be tough to me an 8. It's just a little bit too big. The nice thing about it is like this amount of surface area you see on 6s sometimes when it's totally bare. This one is a color break and it's got like a little bit of that. I don't know why the camera just refocused. So hopefully it comes back into focus soon. There we go. I think it caught it. No, it keeps losing it. But if you can see, there's still some white on that corner. Like the initial paper, the surface is still there, and it's not like the under the cardstock. So it's covered a little bit more, which is probably a reason why it still maintained a 7. But that is actually for the near mint and the mint grades like a fairly significant defect. So a 7, I would have loved to get an 8 on this because like obviously 8s, especially vintage 70s Nolan Ryan, is worth more. But a 7 is still a fine card. So this one, I'm seeing it go everywhere from like $50 to $70. This would be another one that like if you're very confident that it's going to be a 7 in a very particular grade, especially if you're limited by something like centering, you'd think about sending an SGC. But again, had a shot at an 8, I felt, so made it worth it to send it to PSA and go for that escalator. So anyway, this one, 7, within the range that we kind of thought it was, so pretty happy about that. Can't complain. This next one, the Robin Yount, I was really kind of like, so I had this one predicted an 8 or a 9. I was like outside shot hoping this had a 10 because the 10 is a 4-figure card. This one got an 8. So this is like another thing we keep seeing is that like a lot of these are just hitting the lower end of what I expected. So I'm wondering if either because I'm just much more experienced in the 90s and the 70s. There's just less 70s stuff out there to grade. So you can rep this stuff all day in the 90s, but there's plenty of it out there to send to PSA, but the 70s stuff is a little harder to come across. So I'm still learning in a way, or still getting more of a feel for it, and really zeroing in on what makes 7, 8, 9, 10 in these vintage cards, because they are a little bit different. The stock is different, the ink is different. They just got their own little subtleties. Would have loved for this to hit a 10. This is one I'm considering maybe sending back, but probably not. So this one in an 8 goes for like 30 to 55. I'm probably gonna list it at like 40. The 9 would go like between 1 and 150. So maybe I'd send it back in just to see. I love dreaming about this and maybe being a 10, but I'd have to re-inspect the corners. I think they might have had just like a little bit, the touch in the corners might have been a little bit too much. But 8 is fine. You know, we'll make some money on it. Didn't hit the big escalator we wanted, but you know, won't cry too much about it. Next one, 70, back to 76, or back to 76 in the last one too. This one's Ted Simmons, amazing catcher, Hall of Famer. Where is he on the list? Simmons is over here, thinking an 8 or a 9 on this one. Another one we got an 8. So it's not like any one of these you're gonna be terribly disappointed. Like other than, you know, if you missed like the Carew, where you really wanted to hit the 9 because it's a few $100, you're not gonna really like cry that like the Ted Simmons didn't get a 9, or that any one of these individually, you know, missed the grade. But it becomes a little annoying, I guess we'll say, when it's like all of these are hitting the lower end of what you expected. It does make you think maybe it was a harsh grader, or just like there are too many 8s, true 8s mixed in with potential 9s, where all of a sudden the grader's like, I'm just start throwing 8s at everything, which you do see sometimes. You know, plenty of times I've sent in resubs here and there and gotten the grade I expected on the higher end. I made a video about that with some Kobe's, where all of a sudden everything I sent in was an 8. There was like 4 or 5 of them, but there's definitely 1 or 2 in there that was like, no, there's nothing wrong with these. There's no flaws in them. They should be 9s, and sent one of them in and hit a 9. So, but this being another one where thought had a really good shot at a 9, but you know, hey, eights are still fine. This is a $50 to $100 card in an 8. I might resub it though, because the 9 has 1 comp on it, and that was 850. This card in a 9 just doesn't come up very often, so I think I'm going to reinspect this one and then make my decision, because an 8 is still nice. This is a $100 card. This is a $100 card in an 8. You can't cry about that, man. That's a great result. You know what I mean? Get $100 off of a card that, if it's not graded, is probably worth like $1. But man, when you're thinking about like $750 increases in value, 8xing something, it will really make you think twice about, do I want to crack and resub this and get a second opinion? So this is a potential crack and resub candidate, but we're gonna have to think about that one. But yeah, still, hey, even if it doesn't hit the number that I want, man, a $100 card for a card that you probably otherwise can only get $1 for, did very, very well. So even that, you can be very happy getting an 8 of Ted Simmons in 1976 Topps. So hooray for us. This is the big one. This is the big one. Nolan Ryan, number 330, 1976 Topps. So this one, either an 8 or a 9. Beautiful sharp corners, edges. Centering was borderline 9, but does hit 9 specs. A little bit of fuzziness, not fuzziness, but like some scattered print marks, which were my biggest fear on this one. The 8 is like $150 to $200 card. The 9 is $1,000. So this one ended up getting an 8, like they all were. Unfortunately, this one I'm very borderline on sending back in, because this one really does seem more of like a fair grade. So you'll probably see it more as I zoom in. You can see it up in the borders here. The camera's gonna keep refocusing every time I move my finger, but just like a little too much going on. In terms of like, and you can see like the kind of, it's not snow because it's not white, but it's kind of like snowing but colored. Just a little bit too much going on with you know, the being peppered in there with the surface print marks, the print from whatever they did in the printing process to create that. I don't know what went wrong, but I have seen, it's really, this is the other thing about it being subjective. Like I sent in a lot of 1980, 81 Topps basketball, which is a very similar feel and make to this 76 Topps. They're very similar in terms of like texture and feel and whatever they did. They're just very reminiscent of each other and have very similar printing issues, where a lot of these just like scattered print marks start to happen. I hit some 9s in there that had like a decent amount of it. So I don't know if those just had perfect corners. Like this one's got like a tiny bit of like a corner thing going on like down here. Like these were not 10 corners. This one was not ever going to hit a 10, even if it didn't have that. But it was a pretty solid 9 candidate, except for maybe it was like more of like an outside 9 candidate, but like still a strong enough one to merit it. But this is another one where it's like, man, I don't think this would hit a 9. I think 8 is the correct grade for this. 9 is like a hopeful grade. But it's just like, you're talking about the difference of, you know, $800 and 5xing something for just a $20 shot at it, but you got to wait a few months to get it back. This one I'm really torn on because I really want to hit a 9 on this one. I'd love to, but I think 8's probably a fair grade. But I don't know. A decision we'll make later. Don't have to make it on the call right now on the video. But this one would have been so sweet to hit in a 9. But hey, not all of them will. I think the Simmons. I'm gonna look at them both in a little more detail later. But I think the Simmons probably had a better shot at it. But still would have loved to hit this in 9. But hey, can't win them all. No big deal. Hey, we're not going to complain again about a card that's probably worth $5 to $10, and you just sent it in a PSA, and now it's worth $200. Oh, boohoo, cry about it. So this is something to be very, very happy about. So hell yeah, we got an 8. Bought a collection, got an 8. Toss 1976 Nolan Ryan. Hell yeah. Did excellent on that one. So would have loved the 9, but can't complain. Next one, Ted Williams. Where is Teddy Ballgame on my list? 76, blah, 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 blah. I don't see it. Someone's probably already seen it and yell at their screen. Where is 76 Williams? Here he is. 8-9, right there. This one got an 8. This one just seemed borderline. I think it might have been the centering left to right, or just like on the edge. This one, Ted Williams, is like 109 and like 30 to 50 and an 8, so it probably doesn't make sense to resub it. You've already, you took a shot at it, got a card. They'll make a little bit of money. It's still good. Would have loved a 9, but just didn't hit a 9, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to send in another $20 trying to go for a $30 gain. I don't plan on doing that. This one I'm just gonna sell as is. But if someone wants to make that, they're not their problem, but if they want to give a shot at it, they can be my guest. That's okay. But 8's a fine grade. You make a little bit of money on this and had some fun subbing it. So very pretty card, very cool one. So there we go on Ted Williams. Some 77 stuff we'll get through pretty quick. This one is Dale Murphy. Got a 7 on this one. I think I was expecting like a 7 or an 8 on this one. Where is the 77 stuff? Here it is. Got a 7. Like everything else, hitting the lower end of the expectation, which is a little bit annoying. But I think this one was just mostly centering on there, and then had a little bit of an edge issue, and just not quite enough to hit an 8. This one is Mazzilli Clark, I think. Yeah, this one also hit a 7. Again, this one I thought I was going to hit an 8 on. That's funny. I want to remeasure this one, but this one hit a 7. I'm trying to think what this goes for in a 7. It's like $20. It's not a whole lot. It's like it's like a $15 to $30 card. So I'll probably just like try to get my money back as much as possible. Again, everything just on the lower end of what I expected. What are you going to do? And this Reggie Jackson, I think I wanted a 7 on it. Where'd I put 76 Reggie Jackson? Where are you? Here he is. 7 or an 8. This one got a 6. So this one, I would want to remeasure it. I'm wondering if I remeasured it at the bottom here, because that looks 2 to 1 to me, just with the naked eye. 7 would probably be maybe what I was thinking with the 7/8. I could recheck my own video, right? Gorgeous card otherwise, just not very good centering. Maybe they bump it up sometimes, like you see on Beckett, where like the lowest subgrade can be a 7, but then they're like, oh, everything else is a 9.5, so here you go, here's an 8. But this one, again, kind of like we were talking about with the Carew and the Hank Aaron, you can see this one's got pretty serious rotation. Look at that top border, the thickness there, and then the thickness at the bottom part of that left border. So that seems to be a thing where even though this has probably 7 centering, you're just getting knocked down one because of the rotation in the frame. So this one got a 6. Too bad. I think it's probably like $15, $10, $20. Not really worth worrying about because it ain't worth much. And this is another one just pulling off the side because I already listed it. 79 Tops Jim Rice got a 9 on this one. Very happy with that. That was one of the only ones tire submission that got the higher end of the grades. This one was beautiful, just had like a little bit of a service issue. This is worth about $100 in this grade, so very happy with that one. All right, we'll blast through the rest of these quick. For anyone else who's still on the call, these are just some other ones. This is mostly 75, a little bit of 76, but like some like the lesser ones. So this is Joe Rudy. I thought this could have hit a 9, but this one hit a 7. Ugh. Like a lot of these 75s did very poorly. This is probably going to go for like $10-15. Corner issue, probably overestimated. How serious. You can see it already. Yeah, that's just not a 9. I think I overestimated that one. What did I write down for this? I couldn't have written. Okay, I said 8 or a 9, but still, it's just not a good guess by me. Should check that one a little bit harsher. Maybe not been so optimistic when I was doing it. But yeah, this one just. But this is the other thing. Even I don't know. That could be a 7 corner. Even. I don't know. It's just not a good one. Anyway, but yeah, not a 9. Needed to not be so optimistic that day. But hey, right? I shouldn't be yelling at the graders when I do this myself. Under and over grading my own stuff. So anyway, this one got a 7. Boohoo, what you gonna do? Lou Brock. So some of these other ones was me learning a little bit more about how, vintage. So like a lot of this was like a test for like what are, 4, 5, 6, 7s looking like in some of these vintage cards, and do they think about corners the same? Do they do blah, whatever? This one got a 5. I was thinking 6 or a 7, but this, I have some examples of 6s that have very similar types of damage, but maybe not quite the length on that bottom corner. But this other one that I have a 6 is similar to this, where it has like 2 corners of damage like this. So I was thinking 6, and maybe if I get generous, a 7. But this one got a 5. So what you gonna do? Some days you win, some days you learn, right? This is a learning day as well. Gary Carter got a 5. These are all probably like $10-$20 cards now. I'd have to check, but I mean, to me, this one, the corners in this one look uglier than the Lou Brock I just held up. Maybe this could even been a 4. I don't know, 4, 5, or 6. Not something you should send in. Play it. Good one to learn from. Should make my money back on it, but almost kind of wish I tried on a different card, because this is, I probably could have just put this on eBay or sent it to ComC and gotten the same amount that it's worth now, and not even have to go through the grading fee. Ted Simmons thought 7 or an 8, got a 6. I'm gonna have to inspect this a little bit more. Certainly not centering. Corners did not seem to be 6 worthy to me. So I don't know. Maybe this grader was just mad that day, or maybe I'm wrong. These ones were tough. Like, these ones were a little bit confusing because they got like much worse than I thought. Like, I was thinking 7, 8's probably generous on this, but the other thing with the 75 though is the card stock. Just like the 76s just seemed crisp. Like, they just seemed so fresh. These seemed like they had, it's not like it seemed they had been handled so much as, I mean, maybe a little bit. It just, I don't even know if they were stored differently or what. Just like, they just weren't very crisp. They just felt old. Whereas like the 76 just like felt so new. So I don't know if that's something that went through graders' mind in terms of subjectivity of like, hey, look, even though the amount of damage in the edges and the corners might fit 7 specs, the quality of the card stock, I guess you could say, just like seemed brittle almost, or brittle is not the right word. It's just like, it didn't seem like to be the highest quality. So maybe that's what they were thinking on some of these. And I wouldn't doubt it, because like a lot of this is subjective. A lot of this got to be about eye appeal, but also just like general quality. And if you're like, yo, it just doesn't seem packed fresh anymore, then maybe they knock it down one. So that one got a 6. Thurman Munson, now I'm dropping everything. Also, same kind of thing, where it's like, these are not to me 6 edges, corners, centering, surface, but this could have been a 7 that they just bumped down one because of cardstock issues. And that would make sense to me. And that's maybe another thing to learn about the subtleties of vintage, is that when they are this old, there's going to be differences in storage and amount of handling or whatever that can kind of add up. And they're like, okay, look, it's not as fresh as we wanted, bumping it down. This one got a 6. The Munson in a 6 though. Munson is such a popular player. He is such a popular player. This card can go from like, up to $50. So I might actually make a little bit of money on this one, like a couple dollars after all the fees get through. Just because Thurman Munson, he just has so many collectors. He was such a popular player. Not a Hall of Famer though, but very popular player. So this one, even in a 6, can make a little bit of cash, which is nice. Winfield, same thing. 6, 7, or 7, 8 was the estimate. Got a 6. Centering's clearly off. This is gonna be capped because of centering, but again, did not seem to me that edges and corners, centering, surface really merited this grade. But let me take back the surface one. I think they'd probably consider it surface if the card doesn't feel crisp. But I would hope that you have the experience in these if you're doing that grading to make that judgment. But, at the end of the day, I could be wrong too. Maybe these are falling within certain types of, maybe some of these subgrades fell a little lower than I thought. But 6 seemed like a low grade. But what you going to do? Al Kaline, 7. Whatever. Nasty service and then left edge. Still got a 7. It's funny. You can take my notes off of this one. There you go. Even with the service indent, still got a 7. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So that'd be that service indent. That's a manufacturing error. So the K line, I think, does fairly decent in a 7. I've seen it go for up to like $40-$50. So this is another one where it's like, all right, cool, you can make a few dollars on it because it hit a 7. What was my guess on the K line? Yeah, 7 or 8. This one actually hit the 7. So hooray! One of the better 75s. 75s did not do well, as you can see. Hank Aaron hit a 3. This is one that I just wanted to learn about. I thought 5.6. No, that was wrong. Learning about how big these defects can be, or I mean, to me, I guess that was like surprisingly small. That's all you can have and be a 3, because I've got other cards that are 3s that have all sorts, like you're talking about creases at that point, like all sorts of defects, and I would rather have a card with that problem than a crease in it. But this is this is maybe the second 3 I've hit in my life. So learning the lower end, I don't think there's a ton of value in knowing the lower end, because if you're sending in something to get graded as a 3, it's probably more for the authentication than the grade, unless you're talking like a mantle, which you like no matter what you're going to send it in anyway. I guess the point is like, what's really the value of knowing, unless you're negotiating with someone who's like really asking for certain graded prices on the raw stuff, to know what the 3 is, because no matter what, you're going to be grading it. If it's worth grading in a 3, it's worth it at any grade, and it's mostly just like the authentication that you have to worry about. So this one got a 3. I think this will still break even, because this is Hank Aaron. I'm probably gonna list it like 25 and just try to break even on it. What do we got next? I gotta really burn through these. What did I put? Might have a border indent on left edge. That wouldn't have gotten a 4 though. This is a 4 because of corners. These are some nasty ones. And that edge is, yeah, the edge as a whole is bad. Anyway, this one got a 4. Was hoping for a 6. Jesus, 7. No, it's not a 7. But there we go. Learning this stuff. Guidry. This one was a 7. What was the expectation on it? 76. Guidry. Don't know where I put Guidry on here. 76. Ron Guidry. Oh, down here. Thought it would have been an 8. This one hit a 7. I think this was because of this. There's a corner issue. It's going to be hard to see. Is it that corner? I don't know. I'll find it later. But 7, fine. Won't cry about it. No, Santo Alcala. This was the one that had a corner issue that I missed. So I was thinking 8 or 9, as you can see up there. But this corner down here is what did it. It's just like a little bit too big. And like it's funny because like that one hid against the white, because like a lot of these had like a little bit of a darker, surface. Stock color that was contrasting against the white a little bit better, and this one I just hid from me. So that's why that one got a 7. Jerry Roos, I thought this was gonna get a 9. Yeah, it's right there. This one got a 7. I'm still not sure why this one got a 7. That was kind of a disappointing grade. I don't know. That one's too bad. Keep going. Clay Kirby. This one I was thinking had a shot of a 9. There it is. This one got an 8. I can't tell if this one was out of focus maybe. You can see it kind of around his jawline, just like the picture. I don't think that's a camera flaw. I think something's like, when they do multiple, I think they just like probably stamped it a couple times when they're doing the printing, but like this one might have been judged as out of focus because the rest of it's gorgeous. This one got an 8. Checklist, this one got an 8. It was the expectation right there. Should be fine in this one. This is just gonna be off center, and this is probably another one that like in the future would not send a PSA because there just isn't enough money in it to be waiting that long and pay the extra fees. So this would probably go to SGC in the future if that strategy gets proved out, but we'll see. And then the last one, Kurt Bevacqua. This one was really funny. This one got a 5. I was shocked. I thought it could get a 9. And I think corners, edges, centering were 9 worthy, but what I did not realize, and this is my fault, and the reason why you got to check if you're unsure about things before you send it in, all this white crap all the way up and like down here, that is not supposed to be there. So I had thought when I was looking at this, oh, this is just a black and white photo that like, when you print it out or whatever, just like comes with. Alright guys, I guess I ran out of space on my phone, so I'm going to finish this up real quick, but I had to delete a couple things before I could keep the video going, but now we're back. So yeah, this is all snowing, and I just thought that was like part of the original negative photo, and then when I was like, how the hell did this thing get a 5? I was like, maybe there's a crease I missed, and then it kind of dawned on me, oh, what if that's snowing that's not supposed to be there? So, did what I probably should have done at the beginning, went on PSA, looked at what the 9s and 10s look like, and guess what? That isn't there. No, that's not a wax stain. That is all snowing in the photo. I've never seen that much before. There was so much there. I just thought it was part of what the card looked like. So anyway, this got a 5, very reasonable. Missed that one, but hey, can't win them all. So anyway, yeah, before so this submission was really one of two parts. This 75 just didn't do well, but that was also kind of a learning exercise. I'm a little bit unsure of how much of this I want to resub. I think the Carew, yes, the Aaron maybe. Happy with the Babe Ruth. Eckersley happy with. Yaz is fine. But like, a lot of these got like about maybe on like a little bit of lower end. So like I'm kind of like a little bit torn on what to resub, what not to resub. Sometimes it's worth taking a shot at it, sometimes it's not. But it was a good submission. Definitely to make money on this. Definitely can't wait to get some more 70s baseball in and send that stuff in with some of the lessons we learned on that one. But a really good for like first foray into a large vintage submission. And learned a bunch of things and be better next time, and still did very well. Still gonna make plenty of money out of this submission. So anyway, y'all, that's it for today. That was a fun one. I'll let you know how to decide, and if I decide to send any of these back for a resub. But that was a lot of fun, and see y'all soon. Peace.